Hey everybody, this is Chad from onlinebusinessandmarketingcoaches.com. Just wanted to take a few minutes to go over a great plugin that you can use to add some pin it buttons to the images on your posts. I actually looked at a handful of these plugins and a lot of them didn't have all the features I wanted or kind of fell short in one way or another. So wanted to go through the one I chose. I wound up going with the jQuery pin it button for images. It's in the WordPress plugin directory, so it's nice and easy to find. Just jump over to the install plugin screen in your WordPress dashboard and type in jQuery pin it button, and then it's going to come up right at the top of the search results. Got the title right there, and then it's by I can't say his name. I'll probably butcher it if I try, so I'll skip that. Once you have installed, you just jump over to the settings page to customize it. Does a few nice things right off the bat. As you can see, it's grabbing all the images on my site, putting a nice pin it button in there. That'll pull up a window. Pre-fills everything. You can choose whatever border you want with this little drop down. Then puts the image there. I can do that right now. But one of my favorite things about it is right when it's installed, it automatically knows to ignore images in my sidebar. That was a big thing for me. I don't want all these smaller thumbnails and banners and things to be pinnable. I'd rather just the content area of my site have the button, and it does that right out of the box. To control that feature, you go to this first option if you want to change it. So the image selector. It uses a jQuery selector. If you're familiar with that, great, you can change it. There are some links here to teach you a little bit more about it, so you can tweak that to use whatever selector you want. But this is what controls the fact that it's only going to apply itself to images in my content and ignore my sidebar. There are a handful of other ways to control which images get chosen. One of the nice things about this plugin is it does let you do things a number of different ways, so you can use different settings in combination to accomplish pretty much whatever you need. First up, you can use CSS. You can enable or disable specific CSS classes. By default, there are no pin and WP smiley already added into the disabled list. So that means any image you add a no pin CSS class to, as well as any of the little emoticons that WordPress builds into your post when you put a smiley face, those aren't going to get the button just kind of automatically, which is nice. If you want to approach it from the other direction and only put the button on certain images, you can specify a class here, apply that CSS class to the images you want the button on, and it will only work on just those images, which is nice to be able to do it both ways. Next, we have, if you look at my home page right now, it is showing the pin it button on all these post thumbnails. Personally, I'd rather not do that, so I'm going to go into the options here and tell it not to display the pin it button on my home page. I'm going to actually drill it down to just be single post because that's the only place I really personally want them. But you do have all of these options here that you can choose from. So once I've unchecked that, I'll make sure the settings are saved and refresh the page, and it should stop putting the button up for us. And now we can see it's not going to keep doing that on the home page, which is nice. Down at the bottom of the selection screen, the last item you can control is the size. If I pull up, this is the post that this video is going to be going, and when it's complete, you'll see I have a number of smaller images in here that people could pin if they wanted to, but they don't really convey a lot of information, so I'd rather people not really share them. I also have this little signature image, this banner here. Those are all smaller things I don't really want on Pinterest, so to control that, I come down to the minimum resolution setting. I'm just going to put 200 by 200 for my purposes. You can do any number you want. And this basically just means an image needs to be at least 200 pixels tall and at least 200 pixels wide for the pin it button to show up. Double check that that worked. And I'll check out some of these smaller images here. And yep, now they are not showing up as well. So just with those few quick settings, I already have it ignoring my sidebar, only displaying the button on larger images and ignoring all of the smaller images in my content. And it was really easy to set that up, which is nice. Under the visual tab for your options, you're going to be able to control how the button looks and how the actual pin appears. The first option is the mode for static. One of the things this plugin does nicely that I didn't realize until after I'd installed it is it protects your images from being downloaded. So people can't just grab your pictures if they're your own property or something copyrighted, what have you, then just throw them up on your own blog, which happens all the time. If we come to any of my images that are displaying the button, there's no save this image option in the right click menu anymore, which is nice. It is set up to work with sites that do allow image download. If you're having issues with this, try changing it to dynamic. They have a backup option in there for you. Next up, you have the description source. The plugin's going to automatically fill in the description for your pins when you click the button. I have it set to grab the page title, so it grabs the page title, fills it in right there. That's editable if your readers want to change it. But you can control right with this drop down what it's going to automatically fill in. I recommend page title, and we'll get to why with the next setting. But you can also do the description of the page, the picture title, or the alt attribute. You do the site title or the image description. I go with page title because we do also have this option here. You can check the box to always link to individual pages. That comes in handy if, just as we had on the last page, you can set it to display the button on home page, blog pages, your categories page. If your visitor is on one of those pages and they click the pin it button, this setting will try to make sure that they're linking to the actual post and not back to your category page. It does that by looking for a page on your site that has the title that it's putting in the pin, which is why you want to use this setting, and the image that's being linked. So that way you can control where the traffic from Pinterest is going and not just kind of dumping people onto your archive pages where they aren't going to find what they're looking for. Next up, we have the transparency value. I left it at the default 0.5. That's kind of what it looks like. It just controls how intense that fade out effect is. You can play around with that if you want to. Then you can also upload your own button. I'm using the default. It's a pretty standard rounded rectangle pin it button. If you have your own image you want to use, you can upload that. Just check that box right there. Click upload or use something that's already in your image library. And then we can also you specify the dimensions of the image. It'll give you a preview right there for you. After that, you can control where the image shows up on your page. I have it set to middle, but you can also choose any of the four corners. If you do go for one of the corner options, you can control the margins. They don't apply to the middle setting because it's obviously centered. But if you go for the corners, you can control how far in from each edge the button should be. So you have a lot of control there as well. Lastly, with the custom image, there's the retina-friendly option that will re-render your button in a smaller size. So if it's on something with a high pixel density like an iPhone, it'll look a lot nicer. The default image is too small to use that option, so that really only applies if you're uploading your own picture. Lastly, the only last thing I want to go over is over on the Advanced tab. If you're having issues with that always link to individual posts page option, come in here and make sure that this container selector is set to match whatever the HTML container on your site is that holds all your posts. The majority of the time it's going to be a div, so if you're not familiar with HTML, you probably don't need to worry about this. But if you are having any quirky issues, double check here because this needs to match the way your theme is set up. Most themes are going to use divs, so you should be fine there. But that's pretty much the entire plugin in a nutshell. Just in the last few minutes, I've got it set up. It already ignored my sidebar. Now it's skipping my home page, and on individual posts, it's ignoring smaller images for me. And if I were showing it on multiple pages, I would already have it set up to control where the links were going. So tons of options, but super easy to use. As you can see, we just did it really fast. So that made this the ideal plugin for my purposes. If you have any questions or any other plugins you love, definitely leave a comment, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.